Calumet Editions, an eclectic publisher of fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, introduced a new business model nearly a decade ago, in which the publisher and author work as equal partners in a joint venture. Their stable of authors have won numerous and prestigious prizes across literary forms. Where traditional publishers fail to see the value in projects, Calumet cooperates with its authors in realizing a book's potential.
Welcome once again to Writer's Corner. Alan Miller with you, and we are very fortunate this month to have probably the preeminent writer in the Midwest.
I like hearing that.
William Kent Krueger, better known as Kent. Certainly New York Times reviewed, and one of the few really down-to-earth people who was willing to sit and talk with us, who has established themselves and is willing to come in and talk. And welcome.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Alan.
And, people know your books, and you had 2 books out this year, and we'll talk about the 2 books because I just found them extraordinarily interesting. But people don't know that much about you. You are probably one of the few people who has lived in more places growing up than I did. We used to move every 2 years. So that by the time I was 16, we had lived in about 7 different places. You had a similar experience. So let's start there.
Yeah, I was born to a very nomadic family. I was the 3rd of 4 children. When I came along, my father was a high school English teacher in Wyoming. And with 3 children, he realized Wyoming wasn't paying English teachers enough to support a family on. So he jumped ship and joined the oil business for a while, which began all of the moving that I was a part of. He, after about 13 years, realized his moral compass and the moral compass of the oil business were in 2 different directions. So he left, became a teacher again, and we moved around a few more times after that. So I led a rather nomadic life as a child. I didn't come to Minnesota until I was about 30 years old because my wife had been accepted to the University of Minnesota Law School. And because of all that moving around, I never really had anywhere that I thought of or called home. But I swear to you, Alan, the minute we set foot in Minnesota, I knew I'd found home. I fell madly in love with this place and with its people.
And obviously your books are testament to that because they really go to the heart of Minnesota, to the heart of our Native American community. And living in so many places can be a benefit, though. At least I found it that. And I know, number one, I was an only child. I didn't have siblings, so fortunately I was schizophrenic, so I had myself to play with. But other than that, at least you get a taste. We did all over the country, every place from Florida to actually Minnesota one year, and Chicago and throughout the East, etc. So it gives you a little bit of different perspective than somebody who has been in one place.
Yeah, I lived in big cities, I lived in small towns, and I lived on farms. So I had kind of the whole broad perspective of how you could grow up as a kid. My adolescent years really were spent in the Midwest in Ohio. And I'm kind of a firm believer that whenever the Midwest sets a hook in your heart, it's going to pull you back eventually. And here I am. So one of the things that has drawn me to Minnesota and keeps me here is it just speaks to my heart.
It's the quality of life here, among other things, that really is.
And the values of the people here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, from this childhood, you started college. That didn't go necessarily well.
Yeah, I got kicked out of Stanford.
But you got kicked out of Stanford for a good reason.
For all the right reasons, sure. I was, do you want the whole story?
Sure.
Okay, it's a great story. So I matriculated at Stanford in the fall of 1969. This was deep in the Vietnam War, which, you know, was a situation that just so greatly divided our nation. It divided towns, it divided families. Stanford at that point in time had a relationship with an organization called the Stanford Research Institute, SRI, whose primary source of income at that point in time was research into military weaponry. There were a lot of us at Stanford who felt that that was an inappropriate relationship for an institution like Stanford to maintain, particularly at that point in history. So we petitioned the trustees to sever the relationship. We petitioned the administration. We marched, we demonstrated, and nobody listened to us because, of course, there were huge sums of money involved. And finally, in frustration, one afternoon, a group of us marched into the administration building and occupied it. The president of the university was a guy named Richard Lyman. He was a very reasonable guy. He said, I'm not going to give any problem. He vacated the administration building, and we took it over. That evening, about 8 o'clock, we had a band come in, and we held a dance where typically, you know, we would have registered for classes. About midnight, the band packed up and took off, and those of us who were going to occupy the building rolled out our sleeping bags and went to sleep. Huge tactical error, because at 1 a.m., the Palo Alto riot squad in full riot gear swept through and arrested us. I was on a full scholarship. It evaporated, and at the end of that year, I had to leave Stanford.
Something not dissimilar has happened at the University of Minnesota within the last several weeks.
Oh, yeah.
The difference is that the protesters did a lot of damage to Wiggins Hall. I think it's Wiggins Hall. And I understand the protest. I don't condone the damage. And I think that has to be dealt with criminally, really. There's just no reason for that. But
well, when I was arrested, I was charged with criminal trespass, although we had not damaged the building in any way, shape, or form. So initially, I was looking at jail time, but the university felt that that was really not an appropriate response to our actions, and so the charges were dropped. But my scholarship,
as they should have been,
disappeared.
Yeah. So, what's the path from Stanford?
Well, I never went back to college in any real concerted way because I didn't feel that college was teaching me the kinds of things I needed to know I wanted to be a writer, and I didn't feel like I was learning the kinds of things that I needed to learn about life in order to be a writer. So I did sort of the Hemingway version of education. I went out and I logged timber for a while. I worked construction for a while, for a very long time actually. And in the process, I met the kind of people I would never have met in college, who taught me the kinds of things I would never have learned from a textbook, and that to this day just helped me understand the human condition and human nature in all of my writing.
Now, I think in college I probably read every Hemingway.
Mm-hmm. Didn't we all?
Yes, because that was my idol.
Mm-hmm, mine too.
And somehow your path led to Minnesota. As you said, your wife got accepted to school here. You made roots here, but you also made inroads into the Native American community, into the Boundary Waters, into that area. How did that develop?
Well, it was the discovery of the Boundary Waters that pretty much led to everything else. Shortly after we moved here, we began doing in the summer what everybody in the Twin Cities does in the summer. We went up north, you know. We began vacationing, spending a part of every summer at a YMCA camp north of Ely, Minnesota, a place called Camp du Nord, which is literally across the road from the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. And when I discovered that remarkable territory, I knew, when I get serious, this is what I want to write about. Then when I decided to stop trying to write the great American novel a la Ernest Hemingway, and decided I was going to try a mystery instead, and and then took a good look at the North Country where I wanted to set my work, I realized you can't tell a true story set in northern Minnesota without including the Ojibwe, the Anishinaabe, as an element of your work, because their influence up there is ubiquitous. It's everywhere and it's powerful. So that's when I began really beginning to study the Ojibwe culture and to meet people who were in fact Ojibwe.
And it led to what, short stories at first, and then
Nope.
you jumped right into a novel?
Yep, led to Iron Lake, the first novel in the Cork O'Connor series. It took me 4 years to write that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I have read a lot of your novels, and you just completed the 20th Cork O'Connor novel. But also along the way, you have done some freestanding work. And in fact, this year you put out 2 books, which is unusual for you. You usually one a year.
Well, actually, it actually was a book in each year. So the River We Remember came out in 2023, and Spirit Crossing came out in 2024. Fall of 2023, fall of 2024, but within a year of each other.
The same
So,
literary year anyway.
You know, in our genre, commercial speed in New York is considered a book a year. So that's what I have essentially tried to do throughout my writing career.
And of course, right to the New York Times bestseller list.
Woohoo!
And I'm waiting for that, but I think I have a long wait.
It took me 10 novels, Alan, before I hit the New York Times list.
And the quality of your writing, however, is almost poetic. I mean, there is a certain quality to it that encapsulates so much. But your also understanding of the Ojibwe and Native American culture, you didn't get that just from studying about it. So tell us about that.
Well, when I made the decision to include the culture of the Anishinaabe in my work, I knew about what every white person knows about the Native people we live so close to, nothing. But for the while I was in college, I was a cultural anthropology major. And so the idea about learning about the Ojibwe culture was an exciting prospect for me. And I began in the way all good academics begin. I began by reading. But then in the course of my research, I began to go out and meet members of the Ojibwe community and form relationships that have become, over all these years, important friendships for me. So these days I rely significantly on my Ojibwe friends for their insights and their perceptions and their suggestions. A number of the novels have come from issues that my friends in the Native community have made me aware of, and that through my work I've tried to make what is essentially a white reading population more broadly aware of. Whenever I complete a manuscript in the Cork O'Connor series, I will give it to at least one, but usually 2 of my Ojibwe friends to read and vet for me. So I haven't said anything that's too stupid or even worse, offensive. Over all of these years, I have come to such a great respect and admiration for the Ojibwe people. I mean, here's the truth, Alan. Many of our Euro ancestors did their best to eradicate the Native people from this continent, and yet here they are. Here they are. And my friends in the Ojibwe community,
in that regard is horrendous.
Horrible.
It's horrendous. We've broken every treaty that we ever had. We've relegated these people to reservations. In fact, my second book, part of it takes place in North Dakota by the I'm trying to think of the name of it.
But here they are. They're still here.
The Lakota people.
Yeah.
And I have some Lakota in there that I got help with. It's not featured. The story was about land grabbing and taking Native American lands by foreign countries. That was the feature of the book. But the way we have treated our Native Americans, I mean, And when I listen to the politicians today talking about immigrants, my God, we are all immigrants in this country, and we stole their land. That's one thing. But to relegate them to reservations, secondary education, and not enough employment is really a criminal thing, which you don't hear the politicians talk about.
So considering all of the challenges that they face as a result of this generational trauma, it amazes me that my Ojibwe friends are committed to maintaining their culture, maintaining their language, and Alan, they haven't lost their sense of humor. I so admire them.
That's hard to believe.
I know.
So where did Cork O'Connor come from?
Here's the earliest seed of Cork O'Connor. Long before I knew that I was going to write a mystery series or what I wanted to do with it, I had a name. I had a guy. And all I really knew about this guy in the beginning was that he was going to be the kind of man who was so resilient that no matter how far life pushed him down, he would always bob back to the surface and his name would be Cork. Swear to God. You know, I told that to an audience not too long ago, and some wise ass in the audience said, "Why didn't you just call him Bob?" So that was the beginning of Cork. And then when I began to take a look at including the Ojibwe culture, and you know this as a storyteller, as a fiction writer, what you're looking for is conflict, because it's conflict that drives great stories. And so when I looked up north, that's what I saw: conflict in that rugged landscape, conflict in the weather, and conflict in the two populations up there, white and Ojibwe, trying to live together and not often doing a very good job of it. And then when I thought more deeply about the issue of conflict, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to create a character in who he is? He could mirror the conflict in those two cultures. So I decided to make Cork a man of mixed heritage. And, if you're of mixed heritage in northern Minnesota, you could be Ojibwe Finn, Ojibwe Swede, Ojibwe Slav, Ojibwe Russian, Ojibwe German, you name it. For a variety of reasons, I decided to make him Ojibwe Irish, and Cork became very naturally then Corcoran O'Connor. I made him a family man because I'm a family man. It's always been really easy for me to write.
Chronologically through the years with Cork. I mean, he was the sheriff. He's not now. He's an investigator.
Sometimes. Really, he's a burger flipper.
Well,
but sometimes he investigates.
He has the burger place. It doesn't use onions that were from McDonald's. But yes, well, that's where he has his office. But he gets involved every book. Mm-hmm. But his family gets involved. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing to me how you have chronicled the family. And even the Ojibways, you have Henry Malot, who was probably older than me, and which is not easy. And because Henry is aged, you have brought in some other characters. You also have brought in some mystical aspects to it. The grandson, Wabu, has certain powers. How did that come about?
I wouldn't call them powers. I think he is open to the world in a way that many of us are not, and that Henry Malou understands and appreciates, and that Stephen, Cork's son, also understands and appreciates, because he also is a seer, as is Wabu. So yeah, and I have done that not just with my Cork O'Connor novels. I do it in my other work as well, because
we'll
firmly
talk about the river we remember.
There we go.
Yeah.
Because I firmly believe that in these possibilities, my mother was a seer. And so it's easy for me to embrace that possibility.
I mean, Wabu comes upon what is obviously someone buried, and he sees her. He's a seer, no question. And he relates that to the family, and they have some difficulty with it. And I won't give away part of the drama of the book, but we also have drama involving the daughter Annie, and you decided you're going to deal with even some of the harsher aspects of life. And yeah, I was shocked, but
Well, that's the reality of life. The reality is that we lose people we don't want to lose, and then the question becomes how do we embrace that?
That's the beauty of the book, is that it takes us through the same things that we experience with families, and it leaves its mark on us.
Well, I hope it does.
It does, it does. And of course now we have brought in the prophet, and you can almost see him taking over from Henry when Henry passes. But I don't know, are you working on another Cork O'Connor at the moment?
I am just about finished. I have finished the first draft. I'm working on the first round of revisions right now. God willing, it'll be out this time next year. It's called, at the moment, it's called Apostles' Cove. It'll be number 21 in the Cork O'Connor series.
We'll have you back next year.
All right, it's a deal.
To launch that one. Your methods of working. I read that you get up at 5 in the morning, you go to a coffee place, and St. Paul really turned on you and closed down the place that you had.
You're talking about the St. Clair broiler.
Yeah. For years. How does that work for you?
Well, it's actually 6 o'clock, because back in the day when I began this process, the broiler didn't open its doors until 6, but I was up at 5:30 to get there at 6. This was back when when my wife had gone to law school, and I had become the sole support of the family. You know, I had to keep a roof over her head and food on the table, but I wanted desperately to be a writer. So I convinced my wife to let me go write at the broiler first thing in the morning while she got the kids up and dressed and off to school. And so for years and years and years, while I was still working, I would go to the broiler at 6 o'clock every morning, 7 days a week, and write for an hour and 15 minutes until 7:15, catch a bus to take me to work. And what that did, Alan, was it established the discipline for me that I think is so necessary to any artist. I don't care what your medium is.
I think discipline in writing is really...
Absolutely.
Everybody says, I want to be a writer.
Yep.
And the first thing I say to them, from my own experience, is discipline. You've got to set aside the time to do it and make sure that you maintain that. And
whenever a young aspiring writer asks me for advice, I give them 2 pieces of advice. 1, write every single day. 2, marry somebody with a good job. My wife was an attorney.
Yeah. I went down that path.
I know you did.
Walked away from it in '85.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, it wasn't until '85 I had always wanted to write. I had in my dreams, I wanted to write a novel. I had been writing all my life since I'm 12 years old, in newspapers and sports. You know, a sports editor of a town newspaper and things. At 15, Newsday. I even was a copy boy for what was then the Star Tribune one summer that we lived in Minneapolis. But so important, and I wanted to write a novel. I was in my 80s. I never would have done it had we not lived in Minnesota. And,
it's an inspiring place.
It certainly accommodated me. And so how has this book been doing?
Well, it debuted at number 3 on the New York Times list, which is the best debut we've had for a Cork O'Connor novel. And it was listed on...
people getting to know it, that's why.
Well...
Getting to know your name.
That's right. Finally, my name is bigger than the title on the book. One of those things. It was on lots of lists for the best books of the year. Barnes & Noble just named it one of the best books of 2024. The Goodreads, great reviews. So it's done very, very well for me. I'm quite happy with it. I was quite happy with it when I When I wrote it, I thought it was a good book, good story, an important story because of what it deals with, and I'm just happy to see that it was embraced.
And I thought it was
by
a
people.
courageous story also, for a writer to take on the family like that and achieve the ends that you achieved there. So is Henry still around in number 21? Are you going to tell me?
Do you know, I get emails every day that go something like this. Dear Mr. Krueger, if you kill Henry, you're dead. So Henry's going to be with us a very long time, Alan.
We don't have too much time left, but I certainly want to talk about The River We Remember, which is contemporary. Well, it goes back to the 50s.
58, it opens in the summer of 58.
When a Native American came home from the war with a Japanese bride, and it caused a lot of problems. A body is found. Ultimately, the finger is pointed at him because of all the prejudices that we endure. And the river we remember, the river is as much a part of the book. The river is a character in the book, really. How did you accomplish that?
Well, if you looked at all of my standalones, Ordinary Grace, This Tender Land, and The River We Remember, rivers play a significant role in all of those books.
Yeah.
In large measure because I grew up on rivers, and they always loomed large in my own imagination. And you know this as a storyteller. Rivers can be metaphors for so many things that we want to write about. In my books, I've used the river as a metaphor for the journey from the naivety of childhood into the sad wisdom of adulthood. I've used it as a metaphor for the spiritual journey that I believe we're all on. I've used it as a metaphor for the journey in the creation of family, for the journey to forgiveness, all of those things that a river helps me talk about. But it's also rivers tie communities, people together, past, present, future. It's part of the landscape. It's part of the consciousness of people. And so it was fairly natural for me when I wrote The River We Remember to make an important part.
Such a beautiful book. It really is.
Well, thank you.
It's, as I said, poetic in many ways.
My father was a high school English teacher, Alan. You know, I'm so aware of the quality of language, the power of language, and I try to use it to its fullest extent.
And in your unique way. And I can't believe that we've blown a half hour already.
Oh, it's already time? Oh, my God.
All I can say is we'll have you back next year with the new book, number 21 in the Cork O'Connor. I recommend anyone to read these books. They are just beautiful and beautifully written. To emulate this man is a dream which we don't achieve, but then we have him. So, Kent Krueger, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.